Welcome in to the Mile High Hoops podcast. We are talking to you about all things Denver Nuggets. He is Anilo Piro. I am Jake Shapiro. And the Denver Nuggets are coming off, since last time we talked to you, maybe their best win of the season, followed by maybe their worst loss of the season. And even worse for the Denver Nuggets, their starting power forward, who was on an all-star pace, Aaron Gordon, will be done for at least a month. That kind of felt like it was coming the way things were going with his legs and the way they've been managing it. But AP, I'm not really sure how to feel because it feels like the honeymoon phase of the season came to a crashing halt Friday night in a culmination of what was how good this team could look.
I think I'm going to disagree with you because I agree with you in the sense of the Aaron Gordon injury on top of that coupled with Christian Brown. Like, yes, that is borderline devastating news for this Denver Nuggets team, but the big fella's okay. 1-5's okay. 2-7's okay. The Nuggets should be okay as long as those two guys are ready to roll. And I guess I put more stock into the loss versus the Kings. Maybe this is a soft way to put it, which is anti-me with my takes usually. I'm looking at that as a schedule thing. Like the travel for Denver was absolutely brutal in that game. The late night game against Houston on Friday, to then turn around and have to play at home against Sacramento on Saturday. And they looked like a team that was lifeless, gasless, right? Like we're running on empty for a majority of that game. So I think I agree with you in the sense of the honeymoon is over with, the good play because of how good they've been with the healthy guys. So I think Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown, that's going to be something they have to work through, obviously, moving forward. But in regards to like, this was a bad loss against Sacramento, which it was, I'm willing to put a little asterisk above that because of the schedule.
I believe that was a schedule loss, and I thought it was remarkable that the Denver Nuggets almost won that game.
Yeah.
So I'm not that concerned with that loss. It's still the Sacramento Kings at home, though. But when you put into the context of it that they just lost their starting power forward in the game before, and they were already stretching their rotations in that game because of the power forward injury, where they were trying to fill and cut and fill wherever they could to just win that game, they really didn't have many options to go to. I mean, Deron Holmes flew in from across the country to try and play in maybe that game. Hunter Tyson had to go in that game. He's barely played. Zeke Naji got dusted off again after Wednesday night's brutal performance. So it's like they really didn't have much to like even combat the Kings. And that's crazy because, they've got the MVP, but it really just goes to show you that the NBA sometimes is a weakest link league. And the Nuggets' weakest link on Saturday night, coupled with fatigue, was the fact that they had to play some guys on the roster that they barely ever play. So, and these are the injuries, unfortunately. Like, I would say the Nuggets' deepest position this year, even though it might not be the best in terms of the starter, you lose Christian Brown, you feel okay about it because you have Tim Hardaway, you have Julian, who's also dealing with an injury. Even like Jamal Murray can slide and play with Jalen Pickett if you absolutely had to. Like, shooting guard is where they have a little bit of depth. Last year, they had more power forwards on the roster than anything with Zeke Naji, Dario Saric, Vlatko Čančar, but you didn't feel comfortable about the depth, right? Like, none of those players were good. You got rid of those guys, so you don't have the bodies, but you probably have about the same amount of depth, which is zero. You have no depth at power forward. Peyton Watson, in my opinion, is more of a wing, more of a small forward than a power forward. He's probably going to have to slide back up, even though he was starting in place of Christian Brown, which puts Tim Hardaway back in the starting lineup. And I really think for the next month, Anilo, the Nuggets are going to just have to be a run and gun outscore you team. Like, I don't think this defense is going to be very capable. Like, you've lost your two best defenders in your starting lineup, your point of attack guy and your back line guy. And the bench doesn't really, like, Bruce has some ruggedness to him, no doubt. Peyton definitely has the athleticism, but I don't really see another defender on their roster besides those two guys.
Well, I think the point to kind of put that in layman's terms as well is like Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon to a certain extent are defenders first, right? Like their scoring opportunities come largely in part because of Nikola Jokic and how he runs that offense, right? With the slashing, the cutting, sitting in the corner for the three, whatever it might be. So I agree with you. The defensive identity of this Denver Nuggets team has been stripped away due to the injuries of Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown. And it's going to be interesting to see how they respond. To your point, they might have to go more run and gun. You feel comfortable to a certain extent about the Nuggets' ability to outscore teams just because you have Joker, you've got Tim Hardaway Jr., of course, Jamal Murray, and some guys off the bench that can contribute in the scoring department. We've seen them outscore teams before. This is okay for early in the regular season. This would be a much bigger problem if we're sitting here in March and April heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I said this on the show last week when we talked about Christian's injury. If you were to pick any time in the NBA schedule to get hurt for a month or two, it would be a couple weeks into the season before it really gets heating up. So this is going to test the Nuggets' depth, which is something that we've been, parading around, that the Nuggets finally have depth. It's going to look like they don't for a while. I think it's going to get pretty rough. And already, AP, in the last week, Christian got hurt last Wednesday, so about 10 days ago. The Nuggets have gone from the second defensive rated team to 12th, and they've been ping-ponging between like 12th and 15th over the weekend while they, played some games. So that's going to get bad. Like, that's going to probably drop into the 20s if I had to guess over the next little stretch. And the thing that we talked about with the Nuggets that was so beneficial, which is that they were slowing down the pace, which was helping their defense, and it was helping them run the offense because the offense was going to be fine no matter what. They're probably going to want to bump that pace number back up and just try to, like I said, run and gun teams, try to just shoot a bunch of shots. They're going to get rebounds with Jonas Valanciunas and Nikola Jokic. And this is what concerns me, is you're going to put a lot of stress on Nikola Jokic over the next month, whereas it wasn't really a stressful situation to this point. So that's the part that concerns me a little bit. But this has been kind of building with Aaron Gordon all season long. He had the leg injuries all last year, culminated with that game 6 hamstring injury, which goes into game 7 that he tried to play through. Exact same injury he's dealing with now, but to his other leg. And then already this season, you saw him get some hamstring management, whether it was the preseason or on Wednesday. So I don't know if it was injured or if it was hurt or he tried to play through it or they were just being cautious. But I feel like everyone knew that Aaron Gordon's legs have not been at their best, even though AG himself looked awesome. So this is a big setback for the Nuggets that they're going to lose AG. And unfortunately for AG, who looked again like he was going to be an all-star, no all-star game for AG this year. And the Nuggets' only hope lies with Jamal Murray for that. So I kind of ran you through the gauntlet of all my thoughts over the weekend of just dealing with the AG injury. Did you have anything else on that one?
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. We'll have some fun with this. You and I talked about the idea of maybe they'll regret paying Peyton Watson over paying Christian Brown over Peyton Watson, excuse me. I doubled down on that take when I hosted Denver Sports Tonight last week. And clearly, like, Cecil and all them caught wind of that take because I walked into the studio on Thursday or Friday. I forget what day it was. And they looked at me like I was crazy. They were like, what? Like, Christian Brown does this. Peyton Watson's so raw and rugged, which I agreed with. But I think now, and I agree with you in your assessment of Peyton as a wing versus more of a 4, which he's going to have to slide back into. But at least you have a guy in Peyton Watson that's shown some pretty significant upside this season, a guy that appears to have taken a step or two, both offensively and defensively, and hopefully he can help fill that gap. And also Cam Johnson, right? This is a guy that's, good on offense, good on defense, at least profile-wise. And it's a shame they lose that game against Sacramento on Saturday night because Cam actually played pretty well in that game. 20 points for Cam, 7-11 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, grabbed 5 rebounds, 4 assists as well, had 3 turnovers, which you want to see him clean up. But, it's going to come down to Cam Johnson doing his part as well. Like, there's no longer Cam Johnson can't just skate by and have these so-so games. The pressure will be on Cam Johnson now to step up and play like the starter that Denver thought they were getting when they traded away Michael Porter Jr.
So on Peyton and the size and him finding a way to utilize it a little bit better because he's growing into his game. In Saturday's loss to Sacramento, he had 7 rebounds. That would have been his second highest total last season, which doesn't look that impressive considering the fact that he had 10 rebounds on Friday, which would have been his career high. Had on Wednesday, he not grabbed 12 rebounds, which was now his career high. So that goes to show you 3 games that Aaron Gordon either didn't play in or played limited amounts, that Peyton Watson is averaging 9.5 rebounds in those games. That's insane.
It's great.
Like, Peyton Watson is not that level of rebounder. I don't expect him to continue that, but that goes to show you how much IQ, like I've always talked about with Peyton, he has athleticism and IQ. And he uses that IQ to be like, I got to slide in here. I got to do this job, even though it's not like the most comfortable thing I do. He's finding ways to contribute. And that's the thing that made Christian so valuable early on in his career before he kind of figured out exactly who he is as a player, is he always found a way to contribute. I don't know that Peyton knows exactly who he is as a basketball player, which is one of the reasons why I understood the Nuggets paying Christian Brown instead of Peyton, because they can't take risks based on where they are at this point. But the upside of Peyton, like I've always thought, is a little bit higher than that of Christian. And we're going to see over this extended stretch, even though Peyton's maybe not in the most comfortable position where he is in the pecking order and in the starting lineup, what position he's playing, we're going to see Peyton Watson get a real opportunity over an extended period here of a month. And in talking to some people in Peyton Watson's camp last year, and Anilo, a lot of people forgot this because it just happened early on in the season. It happened actually November 6th through December 1st. Aaron Gordon missed all that time last year. It was about 10 games, okay? Peyton Watson in that time last year started every single one of those games. This was before they went back to Russ in the starting lineup, right? And this is his points in those games: 10, 16, 16, 18, 7, 15, 15, 11, 6, 9, and 13. He was averaging 12.4 points per game, which is awesome, getting 4.2 rebounds a game, 1.6 assists a game, and also getting over a block a game. And he was doing that on 42% three-point shooting and 58% from the field. I'm going to take that right now, and he's even better this year.
Yep.
And I was trying to get into, I was talking to some people in Peyton Watson's camp late last year, about that stretch. And they said Peyton really found himself as a player. And they thought that when Aaron Gordon came back, that no one in that camp was like, oh, Peyton's going to start over AG,
right?
But that Peyton had earned more minutes and deserved to maybe be the sixth man now instead of Russell Westbrook. He deserved to be up in the pecking order, get more minutes across the board at a multitude of positions. Well, what happens is Peyton basically goes from playing 31 minutes a night till right after that AP 17, 18, 25, 18, 26, 17, 17, 17, 17. His minutes get sliced in half, essentially.
That's a Malone thing, though.
And it really hurt Peyton's confidence, and the people in Peyton's camp were really upset with the way Malone handled that. And that's one of the things, of the many things that happened last year behind the scenes that continue to trickle out like they just did now, of things that Malone did that ticked off different people left or right. So in saying all of that, this is the absolute inverse of the situation where the Nuggets don't have another option for another month. They need Peyton Watson to start. And Peyton Watson wants this opportunity, and in my opinion, is ready for this opportunity. So I'm really excited for what will come with Peyton Watson for this month. That being said, the Nuggets do have an open roster spot in Elo, and with two bodies down, Deron Holmes being kind of a two-way player at this point, and them relying a lot on Spencer Jones, it might be time to fill that roster spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is also part of the reason why they kept this roster spot open as long as they have, right? Because at the time, you didn't feel like you had to there was no rush to fill the roster spot. Now you have an opportunity to go out there and get as quality of a player as you could find that fits a very glaring need that this team is going to need over the next 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, we're not going to see Aaron Gordon or Christian Brown until the calendar hits 2026. And it might be well into January before we even see one of those two guys, or both of them at that matter. So we'll see what Denver does with that final roster spot. But you brought up a name that I want to dissect with you a little bit. You think we get some Deron Holmes run in this next 4 to 6 weeks as well?
Again, unless they fill that roster spot, I don't think they really have an option. I mean, Zeke Naji looked horrible on Wednesday. Yeah. And the other forward depth that you have is Hunter Tyson, who I'm still not sure is an NBA player, and Deron Holmes, who you used a first-round pick on. I know it's a little early given the fact that we're a couple weeks into his, real playing stint after an Achilles injury, but the time is now and you need him now. You need him now. And I'm not sure what he brings on an NBA floor. We've seen him in the G League. We've seen him in college, but he can shoot. He's got good touch. I wish he was a little bit more rugged of a rebounder. I'm not sure he's much of a defensive player, but he could look very solid next to Jokic with his athleticism is kind of a different style of athleticism than Jokic's. It's like completely opposite. So I think that could play well next to Jokic. Like, he does have some of that Aaron Gordon quick tip twitch stuff. Of course, no one's the freak athlete that Aaron Gordon is.
Right.
So I do think that this could be a really solid opportunity for Deron Holmes. And, unfortunately, it's not a low stakes situation, but you can make it as low stakes as possible. Maybe play him 12 to 14 minutes a night, all with Jokic on the floor, or mostly with Jokic and maybe a little bit of splash of Valanciunas. You always have Jokic or Murray on the floor with him. And I think that would be a good hand-holding situation into the league as much as you can. As you alluded to, I think the guy that's really going to need to step up the most is Cameron Johnson and Peyton Watson, just because of where they are. But the guys who are actually going to play more in play that weren't maybe are going to end up being Julian Strawther when he comes back from this lower back issue, and Deron Holmes.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's working well for Denver here is kind of where they're at in their schedule. And I understand that, these guys are going to be out for the foreseeable future, but the rest of November and really up until Christmas for Denver, so the bulk of December, there's really not that many ultra, competitive games. They got Houston on December 20th. That's something to keep an eye on as well. But you got Memphis tonight. You're likely not going to have to face Victor Wembanyama on Black Friday, so you feel good about that. Phoenix is a scrappy team, but Denver's still the better matchup there. Dallas is a mess. Indiana's a mess right now. Atlanta's, up and down as a whole. Charlotte, we know what's going on over there. So, you never want injuries to be a thing, but with where Denver's at, take their next 10-game sample size, they should be able to win, 8, 9 of those games despite these injuries if things fire on all cylinders when you have the big fella.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, you might not, again, see AG and Christian until around that giant road trip that happens after Christmas, that East Coast road trip, which is
that's brutal.
Season. And that's just going to be a brutal situation, no matter who's on it or who isn't playing.
7-game road trip.
Yep. After Christmas, over the holidays, cross country in Toronto, like just it's just the worst road trip. Like, and then after that stretch, basically you're home free. Like, like these are the 2 worst stretches of the season. You have 6 weeks here where you don't basically play at home 2 times in a row. And then you have this situation coming up in the East Coast trip. Besides that, the schedule's okay. Like, it's not that bad. So I'm going to throw some names out at you real quick because the trade market is not open and does not open until basically December 15th. So if you're going to fill that roster spot, you could maybe fill it with a 10-day contract or multiple 10-day contracts for the course of, the next 30 days. I think you can do 3 10-day contracts. These are some names on the market, Anilo, that I found interesting. You have older guys like Tristan Thompson, Markieff Morris, PJ Tucker. I don't really.
Morris ain't coming.
What?
Markieff Morris ain't coming.
Correct.
Put that out the window.
I'm just throwing out who is on the market. You have Seth Curry, who seems like he's going to sign with the Warriors. Spencer Dinwiddie, who's my guy, but isn't a fit for this situation, though the Nuggets do need a backup ball handler, but that's not precedent anymore. Bojan Bogdanovic, which I think is interesting, not the one that's on the Clippers, the other one that's a little more size. He's still a shooter. This is the one I actually really like, Josh Richardson, who is a very hustle forward first guard, provide some playmaking, decent defender. Malik Beasley is still on the market. I doubt that he's coming back to Denver. Same with Torrey Craig, who would seemingly be a good fit for the roster, but again, don't think he's coming back to Denver for a couple of different reasons. Couple other names that I think are interesting. Lonnie Walker's still out there playing overseas. And Talen Horton-Tucker, who's, who knows what's going on with his career. Jalen McDaniels is a very good player, the cousin of the player in the Wolves. He was very athletic, high draft pick, just hasn't turned out. And then the last guy I find really interesting for this situation, especially in replacing Aaron Gordon, Christian Wood. Not a defender, but is a guy who's put up numbers across the league, multiple stops, multiple years, basically flames out in every stop. But if you can sign him to 2 10-day contracts to backfill the roster with some forward depth, I actually wouldn't mind that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't mind that either. It's a shame that whatever happened with Torrey Craig in the organization seems to be present still, because I actually think he'd be a really good fit for this team. I mean, just we saw what he did with his versatility as a defender, and you probably know a little bit more about what happened behind the scenes than I did, but it's pretty clear that maybe not a compatible match between Denver and Torrey Craig right now. But, you're kind of grasping at straws. Is Ben Simmons on the team? He's still a free agent.
I believe Ben Simmons is a free agent.
I don't think he's signing a 10-day. Ben Simmons also seems like he just doesn't want to play basketball anymore.
I mean, maybe he does. I don't know, but maybe worth the call. I mean, he fits the roster perfectly, but I also don't know if you're getting away with a 10-day for Ben Simmons. You're probably needing a full your contract.
Yeah, I mean, none of these names are great, right? And I think you go with upside when it comes to sign. We'll even see if they fill this roster spot. I mean, you think in theory they should, but there's no guarantee.
That's why I'm saying the 10-day thing could work, because you do it for twice, 20 days. Then that gets you through this situation, and then you reevaluate if that guy hit, if you want that guy, if you want a different 10-day guy, or if you want to hit the trade market, which comes December 15th, which is, again, 20 days from now. I think the 10-day situation is probably correct. And maybe we're not even talking about a name as big as these ones. Maybe they're going to go after like O'Shea Brissett or like, Terrence Davis, like some guys that have been around the league. Isaiah Roby, like there are some decent play. Chris Duarte, I liked coming out of the draft. Like there's some decent players that are, I know are professional basketball players, but are they really NBA players at this point? I don't know. But are they better than Hunter Tyson? Probably.
What about Jay Crowder? I think he's out there, isn't he?
Bro, there's no way Jay Crowder still is playing athletically anything.
Yeah,
like,
no, I know.
Crowder,
you know what? And I say all that to say that,
like 2010.
Yeah, no, I know. I say that he's 35 years old. I just looked it up, but that's ancient for NBA terms. I'm inclined to go the Calvin Booth method here. And I'm inclined to throw Deron Holmes out there and maybe even a little Zeke Naji and see for one last chance, one last ride. Can you dangle him out there and get a couple of good games and get some trade value for the guy? I'm inclined for Denver to look within. I think Deron Holmes is a guy, to your point, you used a first-round pick on him, and I know that he's coming back from the Achilles, but that's more than a year ago now. I mean, you and I talked to him in the locker room after a game. We talked to him at media day. He seems to be in the right place mentally, and I understand that you want to see him develop more in the G League before you give him these opportunities, but baptism by fire for a first-round pick doesn't sound crazy.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I'm with you. I think they could do both things. I think they could throw out a 10-day guy just to backfill the roster that is maybe unimportant and also rely on those guys. But yeah, a lot of stress is going to be put on the Nuggets here in the next month. But like you said, fortunately, their schedule is not that tough. It's just a lot of games on the road, which obviously is challenging, but not the opponents. The opponents are not that bad for the time being. The Nuggets, just to put a bow on it, on Friday, won against the Rockets, which, again, was one of their best wins of the season. Learned a lot about that team, the Nuggets, in that game. Kevin Durant being guarded by Peyton Watson, the Nuggets shutting down Alpi Sengun. I thought that said a lot, and it wasn't a game that meant nothing. Both teams clearly want in on the NBA Cup, no matter how much you guys are going to joke about it. Like, both teams are in on that. Like, you could tell. Like, they were playing. And the Nuggets are 2-1 in this. They do not control their own destiny. The Blazers play the Spurs on Wednesday against the Spurs without Wemby. If the Blazers win that game, they win West Group C, I believe. And the Nuggets can still get into the next round of NBA Cup, but they need to win on Friday against the Spurs. If the Blazers lose, the Nuggets would win the group. If the Blazers win, the Nuggets can get in with tiebreakers depending on the point differential, which the Nuggets point differential is really good right now. So it depends on what else is going around the league. So Black Friday, when you're watching the Chicago Bears, and then later the Denver Nuggets, keep an eye on what else is going around the NBA, because it's going to come down potentially to, a couple threes at the buzzer, teams trying to run up the score at the end of the game for this NBA Cup. Because as Jamal Murray said, we're playing for money. Like, we're playing for something here. So that'll be interesting to watch how that all develops, and we'll know more about what the Nuggets schedule is early on in December, because either they're going to be going to NBA Cup or they're going to be playing multiple games outside of NBA Cup, depending on what happens. I know Anilo does not care, and most of our audience does not care.
No, I just love how into it you are. I love that you just know it off the top of your head. I'm not trying to discredit it. I'm just trying to picture David Adelman talking to the team before an NBA Cup game and being like, here's what's on the line. That's what I'm picturing.
We need to win tonight. We need to win by 10 or more points. Yeah. Come on, boys. NBA Cup.
I love it.
Do you want that $1 million or not?
Sure.
They're playing for $1 million, and they want to play.
I know. That's a Costco rotisserie chicken to them, but yeah.
In history, not to Zeke Naji, and history suggests, well, maybe to Zeke Naji, but not to Hunter Tyson. But history suggests the Lakers won NBA Cup 2 years ago, first year. Bucks won NBA Cup last year. Who won the championships in order? It's the Nuggets' turn.
Ooh, I like
it out there. And they already fired their coach, so you don't have to worry about them firing their coach after they win NBA Cup. They already did that.
So what I'm hearing is winning the NBA Cup is a good omen for the Nuggets to win the championship this year. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm hearing it means you're a wash champion, but they're in line.
Okay,
they're in line. So anyway, we'll be bringing you more NBA Cup action next time we talk to you, which will be a week from today. We are off for Thanksgiving on Thursday. We are grateful to you, our awesome audience here on Mile High Hoops, and our audience across Denver sports. Make sure you're checking out all of our content. While we will not talk to you for a week, I will still be writing throughout the course of the week, including over the holidays, as I always do. And we've got a big Broncos game coming up against the Commanders. We've got, the Buff season ending. What could happen with Coach Prime? We've got Shapiro Sanders. We've got the Nuggets, and we've got the Avs, who might be even better than the Nuggets. Somehow there's a team in Denver even better than the Nuggets. So all that and more, including the fact that the Rockies hired a manager today. So we've got all of it on denversports.com. He's Anilo Piro. I'm Jake Shapiro. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you next Monday.